Welcome to the Raise Your Bars podcast, where it's all about elevating your life one step at a time. With your hosts, Chris Baker and Ruttan. Together, we're here to guide you through the transformative journey of self-improvement and success. Have you ever wondered what behaviors and actions you need to change to achieve the results and success you desire in life? Well, you're in the right place. Each episode, we dive deep into the strategies, mindset shifts, and practical steps you can take to raise your bars. From personal development to professional growth, Chris and Al share their expertise, experiences, and the occasional tough love, all designed to empower you to reach your full potential. So, whether you're looking to make a big change or simply fine-tune your path to success, grab a seat and let's raise those bars together. Now, let's welcome your hosts, Chris Baker and Al Ruttan.
Well, here we are with another edition of the Raise Your Bars podcast, and I need to come up with a new introduction, Chris. That's another edition of the Raise Your Bars podcast. Anyways, I'm here with my good friend Chris Baker. I'm Al Ruttan. Chris is in sunny Florida. I'm in wintry Manitoba. We finally, November 19th is when we're recording this podcast. We finally got some snow today. It's not sticking because it was raining pretty much all day, so it's very wet and damp out there, but the snow is coming, and to the west of us, they got hammered, and north of us, they're getting hammered with pretty big snow.
I saw that coming like over Seattle and Washington, that sort of way. It was a massive, and actually I saw some posts from friends and family in England that had some snow today, albeit same as you, it's washed away now because it rained, but
right.
And actually we're sunny, but Florida is going to be down in the 60s this weekend and like the early 40s overnight. And I'm on a golf weekend, so I've got to take my long trousers golfing this weekend for sure.
Oh, that's a shame. You won't be able to work on your tan. My son just escaped the storm. He went to Arizona, so he left this morning to go golfing with two of his buddies. They got 5 days of golf at 5 different courses. Nice. And then they'll fly back. The storm will have passed by then, and it'll be somewhat decent weather again. But lucky him. He's in Arizona. He's very excited about that. They left this morning. But hey, we're here to talk about we're back on topic with Chris Baker's book, 10 Steps to Freedom, your 10-step guide to living the life you deserve. And today we're on to chapter 2, and it's titled I Own My Decisions. And maybe, Chris, before we get into the actual chapter, you could just tell us why was chapter 2 I Own My Decisions, and what led you to putting these words on paper for this chapter?
Well, I think it's the age-old denial, right? Denial that what's happening to me is anything to do with my decisions, right? And it's we go into talking about victim mentality, but that's why I was feeling like, why is this happening to me? What's wrong with me? What's going on in my life? Why are things not going right? And as I started going through to it, I realized that our current situation is a direct consequence of the decisions that we've made in the past. And
wholeheartedly agree.
And we don't always think about that, right? And I start every chapter with a quote, as you know, and Roy Disney, who was a very smart man, obviously Walt Disney's brother. The quote I start with, this one, is, it's not hard to make decisions when you know what your values are. Here was the thing, I didn't know what my values were before I started writing this. And again, the whole point of writing the book, I didn't write it to make it a bestseller to earn loads of money, and it hasn't done so, right? But I wrote it to help get these things out of my head and get down on paper so I could get clear about what my values were, what my purpose was, what did I want from my life, all right?
And we've sorry, go on.
Yeah,
sorry, carry on.
Sorry. It comes down to that, we've often talked about, finding your purpose, right? And understanding your why. And people go, oh yeah, I know what my purpose is. I know what my motivation is. I want to earn money. Well, that's not a motivation, right? And that was really where my life had gone, because I was in sales for the bulk of it, right? And running car dealerships. So it was always, we were chasing I was in England, so it was the mighty pound rather than the mighty dollar, but we were chasing the targets, right? And chasing money and, chasing money for ourselves. And it wasn't always thinking about, why are we doing this? Why is it important? What do we want it for? And so that's really where this came down. It's like, stop, wake up and smell the roses. It's like, you are where you are because of decision made, whether you like it or not. That's a fact.
100%. And we've spent many a time talking about values exercises on this podcast. And I know we both do values exercises with our clients. And I think it's important for you folks, if you don't really know what values you are standing for, that it's important that you do that. You do that. So in the book here, on the first page, you say, I suffered from what I would call a victim mentality, where I believe things that went wrong were usually down to the factors outside of my control, or at least that is what I would tell myself.
Correct. Yeah, it's not being prepared to accept responsibility, and you see it everywhere. Everywhere. If you look at the news, you look at again, not going into politics, but look at the recent elections and so on. That nobody is accepting responsibility for what happened. Right? It's always somebody else's fault, or some situation that happened, or something that occurred, or whatever. There's always a reason.
Did this or they didn't do that, right? Versus, hey, we made this mistake.
Yeah, people look for excuses instead of drilling down and understanding what truly went wrong, what was the cause. And again, we're not conditioned to do that, right? We're not conditioned to or taught how to think. We're taught what to think.
Right.
And that may seem like a small difference to most, but it really isn't. Because if we're just taught what to think, we're basically going along with whatever people are telling us, and we believe that. It's usually not the truth. Right. So take that time to actually work out, like, what do you want, and how did this happen? So, I was reading, I sent you a note when I was on Coco K on Sunday. So I was reading a book by Dale Carnegie, by Stop Worrying and Start Living, called Stop Worrying and Start Living. And he was talking about worry, and how a lot of people spend a lot of time worrying about things, or worrying about problems, and they waste a lot of time doing it. And this is, again, he shared the example of a business owner that said he spent 75% of his time working on things that people were worried about. And then he came up with this idea is 4 parts. And the first part is like, what is it that we're worrying about? First of all, let's identify what it is and write it down. The second thing is write down what's actually causing that worry. Right? So what's causing it? That's the key to this, because we don't do that, because we worry about things and we think things are out of our control, or circumstances are happening. We don't actually stop and say, what's actually causing it? The third part is then to look at it and say, what are all the possible solutions that we've got, the options that we've got, right, with this situation? And then you weigh those up, and you come out with one and say, okay, this is it. Now, how am I going to address that, right? How am I going to start that problem? And you do that. This business owner CEO basically said he saved 75% of his time, because now he trained his staff, his employees, to think through these challenges, and so they cured them without having to get worried and go to him and worry about it. And we can apply that same logic to everything that we worry about.
Absolutely.
Right? What is the cause? What are the options we've got, and do something about it?
And I just want to swing back to the not accepting the responsibility for the decisions we make and the consequences that are a result of those decisions. We find, I mean, we've both led teams of people in the past. And it still blows my mind. And I've gotten very good at accepting responsibility for my actions. I've got really good for stepping up and saying, no, I did that. But it's kind of interesting to see how people will try to, again, back to the political thing, right? Passing the buck, blaming everybody else, not taking any form of the fault at all on themselves. it's that person's fault, it's this person's fault. Although I will say, I have seen some on the losing side in the case in this US election have said, hey, we need to take a really close look at our policy, at our party,
Right.
our policies, and what we're standing for in our messaging, which is good. So that's some looking inward to say, hey, we did something wrong here, accepting responsibility. Now, I remember a story about, I think it was a Home Depot CEO at one point in time had gone into a store and they were having a big group meeting. And in that meeting, the manager threw the assistant manager under the bus for something that had gone wrong within the store in front of everybody.
Yeah.
The next day, that manager was fired. And I think that's a good lesson to us. You know what? Just step up, fess up, accept the responsibility, and then learn from that mistake and move forward. Because again, if we want to change the circumstances we're in today, we need to make some different decisions today so the circumstances can improve tomorrow. And it may not be tomorrow, folks. It may take some time to dig yourself out of the hole you've dug yourself into.
It will.
However, if you don't make the change, you're going to stay in the hole. And so you might as well just curl up and die there.
Yeah, if you want, it's that thing, as you say, if you want different results tomorrow, you've got to change your actions today. And really, that's where bars comes in. And so, and this is really part of this chapter, right? It was really bars in my mind, was bars within this even before we created the program. And it's like, it's taking responsibility for your actions, because what you're looking at is the results and your level of success are directly impacted by the behaviors and actions you perform every day. And therefore, excuse me, you need to take responsibility for those behaviors and actions. And if you want those different results and a higher level of success, then you've got to up level your behaviors and actions. And that's really where this chapter is coming from.
Right. Now I want to actually read a quote here that you have in here, and I love it. Well, I think it's quoted. This is Chris Baker I'm quoting. What we learn from the decisions we make is how we grow, and how we grow dictates who we become. That is really good. That is really good. Because again, what decisions are we going to make? What behaviors and actions are we going to change to get the results and success we want? And I think that so many people get trapped in the situation that sometimes, sometimes it feels overwhelming and like there is no escape. It really does, right? Sometimes you're but that's where you need the help of friends. You need the family members. You need to hire a coach, a business consultant, a trainer, somebody, talk to somebody that can help you get out from underneath that thing you're stuck under. And that's where we need those loving, supporting people in our lives that'll come along and encourage us. But you're talking here about, employing something that every major decisions that you've made, you've employed this strategy. Well, strategy is the last part, but purpose, vision, and strategy are the three things we need to do in order to, change those results. So why don't you describe that a little bit as we're already at 13 minutes here. We got about 5 minutes left here. Yep.
So I'll make it clear as well. Like, every decision I've made since writing this book, I've employed that. Right before that, I didn't. And so that was what I say when I realized this, and I started looking and taking responsibility for my decisions and my actions. I realized that I was drifting, right? I was making decisions without any direction of where I wanted to go. And so that's when I started looking at I'd started looking at Find Your Why before, from Simon Sinek, from a couple of years before I wrote this. So I'd sort of defined my why statement. And my why statement is to add value to other people so that they can become the best version of themselves, or actually be the best version of themselves as it matured into. So I understood that, but the purpose is like, so what, right? So what am I going to do with that? And so so then it was work. So I realized I want to do that. Well, what's the vision? What do I actually want? Because again, I realized that, and people had told me in the past, but I dismissed it, right? That if you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there.
Right.
And it sounds obvious, right? But how many people haven't got goals, haven't got an idea of what they want from their lives? And I'll tell you, through teaching the leadership classes at Disney and other classes that we've taught and so on, I ask people, how many of you have got a goal? And even with leaders at a company like ours, maybe that are willing to progress, I will tell you that maybe 30% of them have got goals.
Yeah.
That's pretty concerning, right? But
The rest is you're just sort of existing or drifting through life, or letting circumstances dictate how you're going to respond.
Correct. And I say that now, but now I find it amazing. But when I look back and when I wrote this, where I was, right? So I was making decisions not based on anything other than what did I think was right for me right there and then.
Right.
And so when you've got a purpose, you know why you exist, right? What makes you happy. You then create that vision of, well, what do you want to do with it? Where do you want to go? What is your life? What do you want it to look and feel like? And feel is the most important part in that, right? So you can say what it would look like, but what you need to do is dig deep and say, well, what would that feel like? How will that make a difference to me? How will it make a difference to other people? What will it feel like to have all of those things in my life and be able to get out? Then I'm talking about being a millionaire. I'm not interested in that. And then the third part of it is, again, where a lot of people go wrong. It's like, well, what's your strategy for getting there? What's your plan? Because a goal without a plan is just a wish.
Exactly. Can I go back to the feelings part of things for a minute? Because I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong here, please, but I see that the really digging deep to figure out the feelings behind you, why you want to have this purpose, this vision, this dream, and how it will make you feel. Those feelings are going to help drive you forward to stay consistent in the actions or the strategy that you need to put in place in order to achieve it. Because again, for me, my personality type, right? I'm all over the map with the feelings and emotions. I get really excited about something, and then it gets hard, and then I lose interest in it, and the interest, wanes, I guess is the word. But anyways, but having the strong feeling attached to that is going to help you drive that vision and that purpose, that goal forward. If we don't have a strong enough feeling towards it, then really there's nothing driving us towards actually achieving that.
Yeah, we'll give up. And that's what I used to do. When I was a kid, I shared this in the book as well. Excuse me. My mum and dad would say I would have these 5-minute wonders, right? So I would do something, I'd get all excited about, I'd do it, but then after a while I would quit. And it was basically because it was getting hard. Right. And as I sat and analyzed it and went back and started reflecting again, this is where I'm started reflecting and writing a journal for 2 years every day straight, was going back and thinking about, well, why did I do that? Right. Why did I give up on those things? And the ultimately, again, it's down to me, because that thing that I was doing didn't mean enough to me to carry me through those tough times. Right. And so, I shared with I was training actually in Uruguay the other night, that think about a navigation system. And I know we've used this example a lot, but this is a slightly different context of it. So imagine your navigation knows where you are. So you've understood where you are. You've understood your purpose. You've thought about where you want to get to, so your destination, and you've created that in your mind, and you've done your strategy, you've done your plan, so you set off on it. But there's a roadblock. What does your navigation system do? It sends a roadblock or an accident up front. It reroutes you, right? It comes up and says, hey, there's something here. Yeah, I can do this different route. There's going to be a quicker route. Do you want to take it? And you'd press yes. And what it does is it takes you around the obstacle and then back towards your destination.
Right.
What happens in our life is when we're going towards that and we see a roadblock, what we do, instead of detouring around the roadblock, we choose a different destination that's easier.
It's good. Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair
And
enough.
and
And I
I
think a
can
lot of
think of it
people
in
do that
terms of,
because they don't
yeah,
want the extra work and effort it takes to put into that to then
yeah,
get to your destination is not
yeah,
worth it in their
yeah.
minds. Even though the
And you can
reward
relate
might
it,
be amazing, but if the feelings aren't strong enough, you're not going to push
right,
forward.
right. And this applies to, your career. It applies to hobbies. It applies to relationships,
Right.
right? And all three
Yeah.
of those have been affected for myself by not understanding this in the
I think
past.
it's affected a lot of people. Hey, Chris, we're at
Right.
20 minutes. I want to just read a quote and then wrap up with a couple of questions. So this
Okay.
is also in your book. It says, nothing limits achievement like small thinking. Nothing expands possibilities like unleashed thinking. And that's by
Uh-huh.
William Arthur Ward. And then I want to ask a few questions here. So they're taking this right from chapter 2, Chris's book. And this is some questions that you, our audience, can go and think into over the next week or so as you think about your purpose, your vision, and your strategy, and accepting responsibility for the choices you've made in the past and the consequences you may be living because of those choices, and then making better choices moving forward. But just some things to think into. If money was no object, what would you spend your day doing?
Mm-hmm.
And if this was the last day of your life, what would you choose to do? And of course, a great question. If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you try? And then what's
Yeah.
stopping you from doing this now?
Yeah.
So spend
Yeah.
some
And
time
when
thinking
you,
and reflecting on those questions.
yeah. And when you think about that again, don't sort of try and be too extravagant, whatever. Just think what makes you happy,
Mhm.
right? What truly makes you happy. And then and then when you're looking at that, it's that, well, how can I get that feeling every day
Right.
doing, what can I do that will give me that feeling every day? And
Exactly.
I'll tell you again, I'm serious. I'm going to write like it'll be more like the 7th anniversary, but I'm going to rewrite this so to the 2.0 version probably next year now, because even since I wrote this in 2018, my life has changed so much for the better that I want to be able to share that and say, this is not just theory. This is
Right.
this is
It works.
actual. You put it into practice, it works, right?
Mhm.
It's not easy, but it works if you do it. But
Yeah,
you got to want it enough. So yeah,
absolutely.
answer those questions. Feel free to share anything in the comments, ask questions, and again, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and click the
Yeah, we would
notifications so
appreciate that.
you get our notifications when we go when we send these videos out. So
Absolutely. And if you are a
yeah,
business owner or specifically a retailer, but honestly, our program will work for any business owner. If you go to raiseyourbars.com, you can download our free ebook there, which will give you some actionable strategies and steps to help you increase your business today. And you can also book an appointment to chat with Chris and I, because we have a profit assessment we can do on your business that'll help you. And I'm Chris working with a client right now. We did part of the assessment on Saturday morning, and we were able to find a potential of about an extra $100,000 in profit for this client in their business. And we can do the same for you. So raiseyourbars.com.
Yep.
Reach out to us. Let's book a call. Let's chat. And we'll see you next time on the Raise Your Bars podcast.
bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to the Raise Your Bars podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please consider sharing it with your family, friends, and coworkers. We would sincerely appreciate it.